Hi, this is Mike from Stagecoach Road Vintage Sewing Machine, and this is your SewMor. And this is the final test before we pack her up to ship her out to you. And in this test, we're going to go over the various functions, how to adjust the tension, how to set the stitch length, how to wind the bobbin, thread the machine, and adjust the sewing foot pressure. So let's get started. And your bobbin case is, oh, there it is. Your bobbin case is below the slide plate here. And your bobbin, of course, is in the bobbin case. Your spool goes on the bobbin winder thread spool down here between the discs of the bobbin winder tension, and it's easier to start the thread before you put it on the bobbin winder. So put your thread from the inside out through one of the little holes in the side of the bobbin. Hold on to the end of your thread. Hold on to the end of your thread better than I did. Put the thread through one of the little holes in the side of the bobbin, from the inside to the outside, and hold that end while you put several wraps around the bobbin to hold the thread in place while the bobbin winds. You want it to go on with your thread going over the top from the front towards the back. Push the bobbin winder down until it makes contact against the hand wheel, and take up some of this slack here. That's quite a bit of slack. Declutch your machine by turning the chrome knob in the center of the hand wheel towards you about a quarter turn. You'll feel it hit its stop. Then the wheel can spin without the rest of the machine cycling. And wind your bobbin. So here we go. No reason to go too fast. More chance of getting a tangle if you do. Now as your spool fills, it's going to push this little lever here up further and further until it, when it's full, it'll pop up all the way, and your hand wheel will continue to spin, but the bobbin's no longer winding, so you're not going to overfill your bobbins. So this should be plenty for our test. Remember to reclutch your machine by tightening the knob in the center of the hand wheel. And then, with your thread coming off the top of the bobbin in this direction, you're going to drop it into the bobbin case. And the thread will backtrack into this slot in the side of the bobbin case, under that flat leaf spring, which is what adds the bottom tension, until you feel it click into place. Then you'll feel just a little bit of drag on your thread. Then holding this little lever out, that keeps the bobbin from dropping out while you're handling it. And with this little finger here pointing up, slide it onto the pin in the center of the hook all the way until that finger make sure your needle's up, until that finger goes into the slot that's made for it in the top of the bobbin race there. To wind the bobbin, put your thread on the spool pin. Go into your first thread guide here, down into the second thread guide, and between the discs of the tension device all the way around until you catch the check spring. Keep going up until your thread goes into the notch in the top of the tension device. Then go a second time into that same big thread guide there, through the take-up lever, from right to left, down to the thread guide on the faceplate, to the thread guide on the needle clamp, and through the needle from left to the right. And it's always easier if you first cut a nice clean end of your thread. And there's nothing to divert the thread from going right into the eye of the needle. Holding your needle thread, turn the hand wheel towards you one full revolution, and the needle will take the thread down, wrap it around the bobbin, and bring up your lower thread. There it is. Put your thread between the toes of the presser foot and towards the back of the machine, and you're ready to sew. This is a piece of duck. It's fairly heavy duty, from a pair of Carhartt logger jeans. Lower your presser foot using the lever on the back, and let's check our stitch length. This is your stitch length lever, and let's see, I believe that down is forward on this machine. They're all a little different. Holding your threads for the first couple of stitches. Oh, this is your feed drop, and when the knob is turned to the right, it drops the feed so that you can move the fabric yourself and the machine doesn't move it. So we're going to turn that to the left to the sew position, and holding your threads for the first couple of stitches. There. Now, down is the forward position. So the center here is the 0 position, where the needle goes up and down, but the feed dogs don't move the fabric. They just go up and down. As you go down from the center position, your stitches get longer and longer and longer and longer, till all the way at the bottom you have your longest stitches. From the center going up, your stitches get longer and longer, but in reverse. So we're going to go down just a little bit below the center, and this knob here is your stitch length lock. If you want your stitches to be the same length in forward and reverse, you set that to whatever stitch length you like. Then when you go into reverse, your stitches will be the same length. So we'll set it at about, let's see, about 2.5. Okay. This is a great machine. Not only is it pretty, but it's quiet and it's fast and it's smooth and makes a nice stitch. You got a nice even stitch there on the top and the bottom. Go for a little longer stitch length. I'm going to loosen that knob all the way, go all the way to the bottom. Longer stitch. Reverse, forward, reverse, short stitch, long stitch, short stitch in reverse, long stitch in reverse. That's it there. That's your stitch length. Lots of control on this machine. Your tension device, I have it adjusted so your proper tension for regular fabric is at about 3. Let's double check that since this is after all the final test. Aha. What did we do? Okay, looks like I'm going to be adjusting the tension just a little bit before I send her out. Let me try that again just to be sure. Yeah, definitely. So let's do that right now. You see that at 3 there was just absolutely not enough tension on the bottom. I mean, not enough tension on the upper tension assembly. So let's see. It's sewing good at about 6, so let's make that our 3. There we go. Up onto that heavy seam there. Get the toe of the presser foot out from under it. That's the bottom hem seam on the, or I guess it's a cuff on the bottom of the Carhartt pants, heavy duty. So it's a strong machine. And let's make sure that I got that tension right. Yeah, that looks good. So you're going to want to set your tension on about 3 for regular sewing. And if you're sewing something light and delicate, you might want to back off your tension just a smidge so it's a little gentler on your delicate fabric. If you're sewing something heavy duty, you might want a smidge more tension, but for regular sewing, somewhere around 3. Your pressure on your fabric, on your presser foot, is here. Right now, there's no tension, so see, I can just move the fabric around. And if you want to darn or do machine embroidery or just make some art, if you want to draw with your sewing machine, you can do that. About halfway down is for regular fabric. About halfway down is good. A little more for heavy fabric, a little less for lighter fabric, but generally about halfway down. To release the pressure, you press this little tab on the side and it pops right up all the way down for really, really heavy pressure. Halfway down for regular sewing. That's about it. Oil your machine. If you're sewing all day, every day, oil your machine every day or every 2 days. If you sew a couple times a week for a couple hours, you probably want to want to oil your machine every couple of weeks. If you sew only on rare occasions, and you haven't sewn in 3 months or so, oil your machine before you start, because the oil does evaporate, and you want that that thin film of oil for all of your parts to ride on, so they're not scraping against each other. Use only sewing machine oil. Some people swear by what's it called? I've never tried it. Triflow, I think it is. Some people like Triflow. I've always used sewing machine oil. But any other kind of oil, there's a chance of gumming up your machine as it dries out, leaves a thick residue that just bogs the whole thing down. I'm not sure if I have a manual. I'm going to look and see if I have a PDF manual, and if I do, I'll send it to you. And that will have a an oiling diagram that'll show you all the points you need to oil. You can see that there are oil holes along the top here, and there are, let's see, there's an oil hole here in the center of your bed. Is that a screw hole? I think that's an oil hole. Yeah, that would be right over the pivot of the hook. So these two are screw holes for your different attachments. Under the machine, if you turn your hand wheel, you can see what moves, and just oil every movement point, 1 or 2 drops. You'll see a few oil holes here on the bottom. Make sure that you get the oil holes, but other than that, each of these pivot points and down here, if you open your faceplate, take out the screw, you take off your faceplate, and again, turn your hand wheel. You can see where all the movement points are. Just make sure each one gets a drop of oil. There's a access plate on the back here that you can take off and see the movement points inside there. Your motor gets 1 drop at this end, 1 drop at this end. There's a tiny oil hole at each end. Don't over oil it, or your motor will stink and smoke. That's about it. It's a wonderful machine, and I wish you many years of happy sewing. If you've come here from somewhere else on the internet and found this video, we are Stagecoach Road Vintage Sewing Machine, and you can find us at stagecoachroadsewing.com. We're out here on Stagecoach Road in the Coast Range of Oregon. So we are stagecoachroadsewing.com. And if you come out to our site, you'll see literally hundreds and hundreds of pictures of beautiful machines that we've restored over the decades. Pictures from all different angles, from the front and the back and the sides, and probably a little bit of information about the machine. And at the top of the page, there are usually a few machines that are available for sale, beautifully restored, ready to sew. So check us out, stagecoachroadsewing.com, and we'll see you there.